next to him remained empty, a glaring reminder that he had lost his +1 when Nicole left him 6 months ago. She sat at the head table now, radiant in white silk, her hand intertwined with Tom's. The same Tom who had been Jerome's groomsman when they got engaged 2 years ago. The irony tasted bitter in his mouth. Isn't that Nicole's ex-boyfriend? The whisper came from the table behind him, barely hidden beneath the string quartet's melody. I heard she left him for the best man. How embarrassing. Jerome's face burned. You should leave. You should have never come. But as he started to rise, a warm hand touched his shoulder. Sorry I'm late, honey. The voice was soft, melodic, with just the right amount of breathiness to sound convincing. Jerome looked up to see a woman he had never met sliding into the empty chair beside him. She was beautiful, with dark skin that glowed in the afternoon light, natural hair styled in an elegant twist, and kind brown eyes that seemed to understand exactly what was happening. Before Jerome could speak, she leaned closer and whispered, Act like you're mine tonight. Please. I can see you need this as much as I do. Jerome's instinct was to protest, to explain that he didn't need help from a stranger. But something in her tone, something genuine and kind, made him pause. The whispers behind him had stopped. The pitying glances from other tables had shifted to curiosity. This woman, whoever she was offering him a way out of his humiliation. Thank you, he whispered back and meant it. I'm Jerome. Amara, she replied, her smile warming her entire face. Now let's give them something to talk about. She placed her hand over his on the table, the gesture natural and comfortable. To anyone watching, they looked like a couple who had been together for years. Jerome felt his shoulders relax for the first time since arriving. How did you know? He asked quietly as the ceremony began. I've been there, Amara said simply. Sometimes we all need someone to remind us we're not alone. As the officiant began speaking about love and commitment, Jerome found himself studying Amara's profile. She wore a deep purple dress that complemented her skin tone perfectly, and diamond earrings that caught the light when she moved. Everything about her suggested success and confidence, yet she had chosen to help a complete stranger rather than enjoy the wedding alone. During the vows, Nicole's voice carried across the garden. I promise to love you, Tom, through all of life's surprises and changes. Jerome felt Amara squeeze his hand gently, a silent reminder that he wasn't facing this moment alone. When the officiant pronounced Nicole and Tom husband and wife, the crowd erupted in applause. Amara clapped enthusiastically, every inch the supportive wedding guest. Jerome found himself clapping too, and surprisingly, it didn't hurt as much as he had expected. As the newlyweds walked back down the aisle, Nicole's gaze found Jerome's table. Her steps faltered slightly when she saw Amara beside him, saw their joined hands, saw Jerome looking genuinely content. For just a moment, something flickered across Nicole's face. Surprise. Maybe even regret. She's looking, Amara murmured. I know, Jerome replied. Thank you for this. I mean it. We're not done yet, Amara said with a smile. The reception is where we really sell it. The guests began moving toward the reception area, and Jerome stood to pull out Amara's chair. She accepted his offered arm with grace, and together they joined the crowd flowing toward the decorated barn where dinner would be served. I have to ask, Jerome said as they walked, why did you do this? You don't even know me. Amara was quiet for a moment. I came to this wedding alone too. I saw you sitting there and I remembered how that feels. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do is help someone else through a hard moment. Jerome felt something shift in his chest, a warmth he hadn't experienced in months. This woman, this stranger named Amara, had seen his pain and chosen to step into it with him. Not for any reward or recognition, but simply because it was kind. I don't know how to thank you, he said. Just follow my lead at the reception, Amara replied. And maybe we can both get through this evening with our dignity intact. As they entered the reception barn, Jerome realized he was no longer dreading the next few hours. For the first time since Nicole had left, he felt like he might actually be okay. Have you ever felt completely alone in a crowded room, wondering if anyone would notice if you just disappeared? Jerome's story is about finding hope in unexpected places. If this resonates with you, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments below. Sometimes we all need to remember we're not as alone as we think. The reception barn glowed with warm string lights and elegant floral centerpieces. Jerome and Amara found their assigned table, and Jerome was relieved to see it was filled with Nicole's college friends rather than family members who might ask uncomfortable questions. Jerome, we haven't seen you in forever, said Rebecca, one of Nicole's sorority sisters. Her eyes immediately went to Amara with undisguised curiosity. "And you must be Amara," she said warmly, extending her hand. "I've heard so much about all of you." The lie came so naturally that Jerome almost believed it himself. Amara settled into her role effortlessly, asking about Rebecca's new job and complimenting another woman's dress. Within minutes, she had charmed everyone at the table. When the band started playing, Amara turned to Jerome with an expectant smile. "Shall we dance?" Jerome hadn't danced in months, not since the last time he and Nicole had gone out together. But Amara's hand in his felt steady and sure, and when she led him onto the dance floor, his body remembered the rhythm. "You're good at this," he said as they swayed to a slow song. "I should be. I've been to more weddings than I can count." Amara's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Occupational hazard. What do you do?" "Event planning. Weddings, corporate parties, anniversary celebrations. If there's a party to be planned, I've probably done it." Jerome spun her gently, and she followed the movement with professional grace. "So you really do know how to work a room." "Years of practice," she confirmed. "But you're holding your own quite well." As the song ended, Jerome realized other couples were watching them with approval. Even Nicole's grandmother, seated at a nearby table, nodded approvingly in their direction. "We should mingle," Amara suggested. "Make the rounds, let people see us together." They spent the next hour moving through the reception like a seasoned couple. Amara remembered names and details from conversations, complimented the flowers and food, and somehow made Jerome look like the most attentive boyfriend in the room. When someone mentioned the bride, Amara smoothly redirected the conversation to more neutral topics. During dinner, Tom's best man stood to give a toast. Jerome tensed, knowing what was coming. Tom and Nicole's love story is proof that sometimes the heart knows what it wants, even when the timing seems wrong, the best man said, his voice carrying across the room. Sometimes love means making difficult choices, but when you find your person, you know it's worth it. Jerome felt his jaw tighten. Beside him, Amara's hand found his under the table. "Breathe," she whispered. "You're bigger than this moment." Her words steadied him, and Jerome managed to raise his glass with the rest of the room when the toast concluded. He even managed to smile when several people at their table clinked glasses with them. As the evening progressed, Jerome found himself genuinely enjoying Amara's company. She was funny and intelligent, with an easy laugh that made him want to be funnier than he actually was. When she talked about her work, her passion was evident. When she listened to others, she gave them her complete attention. "You're remarkable," Jerome said during a quiet moment between dances. "I'm just being myself," Amara replied. "The remarkable thing is how well you're handling all of this. I know it can't be easy." "It's easier with you here." They were interrupted by Nicole herself, who appeared at Jerome's shoulder with a bright, slightly forced smile. "Jerome, I'm so glad you came," Nicole said, her eyes flickering between him and Amara. "And you brought a friend." "Nicole, meet Amara," Jerome said evenly. "Amara, this is Nicole." "Congratulations," Amara said graciously. "Your wedding is beautiful." "Thank you." Oh, we weren't sure Jerome would come." Nicole's composure slipped slightly. "I'm glad to see you're doing well. Both of you." There was an awkward pause. Jerome realized this was the first time he had spoken to Nicole since she had packed her things and left their apartment. He had imagined this conversation dozens of times, had planned angry speeches and cold dismissals. But now, with Amara's presence steadying him, he felt only a distant sadness for what they had lost. "We're very happy," Amara said gently, filling the silence. "Thank you for including us in your celebration." Nicole's smile became more genuine. "Of course. I hope things work out wonderfully for you both." After Nicole moved on to greet other guests, Jerome turned to Amara with amazement. "How did you know exactly what to say?" "Experience," Amara said simply. "And the truth is usually the best policy. We are happy right now in this moment. That's all that matters." As the evening wound down, Jerome realized he hadn't thought about his heartbreak in hours. Instead, he had laughed and danced and felt like himself again. And it was all because a stranger had chosen to be kind. "This has been perfect," he told Amara as the last dance ended. "I can't believe you did all this for someone you just met." "Maybe I needed this evening too," she said thoughtfully. "Maybe we helped each other." As they prepared to leave, Jerome knew he didn't want this to end. Whatever this was between them, however it had started, he wanted more of it. "Can I take you to dinner sometime?" he asked as they walked to the parking lot. "As a proper thank you." Amara smiled. "I'd like that very much." 3 days later, Jerome sat across from Amara at a quiet Italian restaurant downtown, nervous in a way he hadn't been since high school. At the wedding they had been playing roles. Tonight felt different. Tonight was real. "I have a confession," Amara said after they had ordered wine. "I wasn't actually invited to that wedding." Jerome nearly choked on his water. "You crashed Nicole's wedding." "Technically yes. But I had a good reason." Amara's cheeks flushed slightly. "I planned the flowers for the reception. When I went to check on the arrangements that afternoon I saw the guest book and, well, I saw you sitting there alone. You looked like I felt 3 months ago." 3 months ago? Amara rotated the wine glass in her hands, choosing her words carefully. "I was supposed to get married 3 months ago. My fiancé called it off 2 weeks before the wedding. Said he wasn't ready for that kind of commitment. The venue was paid for, the flowers ordered, the dress hanging in my closet. I canceled everything except the flowers. I couldn't bear to waste them." Jerome felt a pang of recognition. "So you've been where I was. Sitting alone while everyone else celebrates love?" "Yes. It's not a fun place to be." Amara took a sip of wine. "When I saw you at that table I remembered exactly how that felt. And I thought maybe we could help each other get through one difficult evening." The waiter brought their salads and they ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Jerome found himself studying Amara's face, noticing details he had missed at the wedding. The small scar above her left eyebrow. The way she tilted her head slightly when she was thinking. The graceful way she moved her hands when she talked. "Tell me about your business," Jerome said. "Event planning sounds like it would be either wonderful or terrible. Both depending on the day," Amara laughed. "I love creating beautiful moments for people. There's something magical about taking someone's vision and making it real. But it's also incredibly stressful. Every detail has to be perfect because you're dealing with people's most important memories." "How did you get into it?" "I fell into it actually. I was working in corporate marketing after college, but I kept volunteering to plan office parties and company events. My boss finally told me I was wasting my talent in a cubicle." Amara's face lit up as she talked about her work. "I've been on my own for 3 years now. It's scary sometimes not having a steady paycheck, but I love being my own boss." Jerome nodded with understanding. "I know about scary career moves. I just got laid off from my marketing job 2 weeks ago. The company downsized my entire department." "I'm sorry." "That's awful timing on top of everything else. Actually, it might be a blessing in disguise. I wasn't happy there. I was only staying because Nicole thought it was stable." Jerome realized how much he was revealing to this woman he barely knew, but something about Amara made him want to be honest. "I've always wanted to start my own business, but I was too afraid to take the risk." "What kind of business?" "Marketing consulting for small businesses. I'm good at helping companies tell their stories and reach their customers. I just never had the courage to try it on my own." Amara leaned forward, interested. "What's stopping you now?" "Money mainly. And confidence. It's one thing to dream about being your own boss, but actually doing it?" Jerome shrugged. "It's terrifying. But you have the skills and the experience. And now you have the time to focus on it completely." Amara's voice was encouraging. "Sometimes life pushes us toward the things we're too afraid to choose for ourselves." They talked through dinner about dreams and fears, past relationships and future hopes. Jerome found himself sharing things he hadn't told anyone else, and Amara listened with genuine interest and understanding. "I have another confession," Amara said as they shared dessert. "I've been thinking about our conversation at the wedding. About needing someone to help with client meetings. You mentioned you work alone." "I do, but sometimes that's a disadvantage. A lot of my potential clients are couples planning weddings or anniversaries. When I walk into those meetings alone, I think some of them see me as incomplete somehow. Like I don't understand what they want because I don't have a partner myself." Jerome considered this. "That seems unfair." "Maybe, but it's reality. I've lost 3 big contracts in the past month to planning teams that included couples. I can't help wondering if having a male partner might make a difference." Amara hesitated. "I know this might sound crazy, but would you consider working with me? Temporarily, just to see if it helps land clients." "You barely know me." "I know enough. You're professional, you understand marketing, and we work well together. At the wedding we were completely in sync. That kind of chemistry is rare." Amara's eyes met his directly. "I'd pay you for your time, of course. And if it doesn't work out, no hard feelings." Jerome felt a flutter of excitement mixed with nervousness. Working with Amara would solve his immediate financial problems while giving him time to build his own consulting business. And if he was honest, he wasn't ready to stop spending time with her. What exactly would I be doing? Attending client meetings, helping with consultations, maybe assisting with events when we land them. You'd be my business partner, at least as far as clients are concerned. And our personal relationship? Amara smiled. We'll figure that out as we go. What do you think? Jerome thought about his empty apartment, his dwindling savings, and the stack of rejection letters from job applications. Then he looked at Amara's hopeful face and felt something he hadn't experienced in months. Possibility. Yes, he said. I'd love to work with you. Amara's smile could have powered the entire restaurant. Really? Really? When do we start? I have a consultation tomorrow with a couple planning their anniversary party. 50 guests, unlimited budget, and very specific ideas about what they want. Amara pulled out her phone. If we can land this one, it could be the break my business needs. Jerome felt a surge of determination. Then let's make sure we get it. As they left the restaurant that night, Jerome realized his life had taken a completely unexpected turn. A week ago he had been unemployed, heartbroken, and alone. Tonight he had a business partnership and the beginning of something that felt like hope. Thank you, he told Amara as they stood by her car. For dinner? It was my pleasure. For everything. For saving me at the wedding, for believing in me enough to offer me this opportunity. For being kind to a stranger. Amara stepped closer. We're not strangers anymore, Jerome. We're partners. The word partners hung in the air between them, loaded with possibility. Jerome wasn't sure exactly what their partnership would become, but for the first time in months he was excited to find out. The next morning, Jerome stood in front of his bedroom mirror, adjusting his tie for the third time. He had barely slept, his mind racing with possibilities and worries about the client meeting. Working with Amara felt right, but he couldn't shake the fear that he might mess up her business opportunity. His phone buzzed with a text from Amara. Pick you up at 10. Don't be nervous. You've got this. He smiled despite his anxiety. Somehow she had known exactly what he needed to hear. When Amara arrived, she looked every inch the successful businesswoman in a navy blue dress and matching blazer. Her hair was pulled back in a sleek bun, and she carried a leather portfolio that suggested both professionalism and creativity. You look perfect, she said approvingly as Jerome got into her car. We make a good team. During the drive to the client meeting, Amara briefed him on the details. Robert and Linda Patterson. Married 25 years, 2 grown children. They want to renew their vows and celebrate with a big party. The anniversary is in 2 months, which gives us tight timing but also urgency to close the deal today. What's our strategy? We present ourselves as partners in life and business. They need to see that we understand their relationship dynamic because we have our own. Amara glanced at him. Can you handle pretending we're together for a few hours? Jerome thought about their chemistry at the wedding, how natural it had felt to be with her. I think I can manage that. The Patterson house was a sprawling colonial in an upscale suburb, with perfectly manicured gardens and a circular driveway. Linda Patterson met them at the door, an elegant woman in her 50s with silver hair and kind eyes. You must be Amara, she said warmly. And this is your partner. Jerome, he said, extending his hand. Thank you for meeting with us. Robert Patterson emerged from the kitchen, a distinguished man with graying temples and a firm handshake. Within minutes, Jerome could see why they had stayed married for 25 years. They moved around each other with practiced ease, finishing each other's sentences and sharing private smiles. Tell us about your vision, Amara said as they settled in the living room. She had her notebook ready, but her posture was relaxed and attentive. Linda's face lit up. We eloped 25 years ago because we couldn't afford a big wedding. We've always regretted not having that celebration with our families. Now that the kids are grown and Robert's business is established, we want to do it right. We're thinking about 100 guests, Robert added. Family, close friends, some business associates. We want it to be elegant but warm. Formal enough to feel special, but relaxed enough that people actually enjoy themselves. Jerome leaned forward. What made your original wedding special, even though it was small? Linda and Robert exchanged a look that spoke volumes. It was just us, Linda said softly. No pressure, no expectations. Just 2 people promising to love each other forever. That's what we want to capture, Robert explained. The intimacy of that moment but shared with the people we love. Amara nodded thoughtfully. So we need to create an event that feels personal and meaningful, not just a big party. Exactly. Linda smiled. I can see why you 2 work so well together. You understand what we're looking for. Jerome felt a warm glow at the compliment. He caught Amara's eye and saw she was pleased too. "What's your timeline looking like?" Robert asked. "We have 2 months," Amara said. "It's tight, but doable if we move quickly on the major decisions. Venue, catering, music, flowers. Once those are locked in, we can focus on the personal touches." Jerome jumped in. "From a logistics standpoint, we'd need to book the venue within the week to ensure availability. But Amara has relationships with some excellent locations that might work." "You've done this together before?" Linda asked. Jerome felt a moment of panic, but Amara smoothly handled the question. "We've been working together for about a year now. Jerome handles the business and marketing side while I focus on design and coordination. It's a perfect partnership." "Personal and professional," Robert observed with approval. "That must make the work even more rewarding." "It does," Jerome said, surprised by how true that felt. "When you're planning someone's most important celebration, it helps to have a partner who understands what love looks like." Amara's eyes met his across the coffee table, and something passed between them that felt entirely genuine. They spent the next hour discussing details: color schemes, menu preferences, music styles, and guest accommodations. Jerome found himself contributing ideas about logistics and vendor coordination, while Amara sketched out design concepts and timeline charts. "I have to say," Linda said as they wrapped up, "you two are exactly what we were hoping for. You understand our vision, you work well together, and you seem to genuinely care about making this special for us. When can you have a full proposal ready?" Robert asked. "End of the week," Amara said confidently. "We'll include vendor options, timeline, and full budget breakdown." "And references," Jerome added. "We'll provide contact information for previous clients so you can hear directly about our work." As they said their goodbyes, Linda hugged them both. "I hope you know how lucky you are to have found each other, both personally and professionally." "We do," Amara said softly, her hand finding Jerome's. In the car afterward, they sat in silence for a moment, processing what had just happened. "That went well," Jerome said finally. "Better than well. They loved us." Amara turned to him with excitement. "Jerome, if we land this contract, it's worth more than I usually make in 6 months. And they clearly have friends with money who might need event planning too. So what happens now? Now we put together a proposal that will knock their socks off." Amara's eyes were bright with possibility. "Are you ready to become my official business partner?" Jerome thought about his empty calendar, his uncertain future, and the way it had felt to work alongside Amara with the Pattersons. "More than ready." "Good, because I have 5 more client meetings lined up for next week." Amara grinned. "Welcome to the event planning business, partner." As they drove back toward the city, Jerome realized he hadn't thought about Nicole or his old job once during the meeting. Instead, he was thinking about venue options and marketing strategies and the way Amara's face had glowed when Linda complimented their partnership. "Amara," he said as they pulled into his apartment complex. "Thank you for taking a chance on me. Thank you for saying yes." She squeezed his hand. "I have a feeling this is the beginning of something wonderful." Jerome walked up to his apartment with a lightness in his step he hadn't felt in months. For the first time since his life had fallen apart, he felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. 2 weeks later, Jerome sat in Amara's home office, surrounded by vendor catalogs, fabric samples, and timeline charts. The Patterson contract was officially theirs, and they were deep in planning mode. "The venue confirmed," Amara announced, hanging up the phone with a satisfied smile. "Riverside Gardens has availability for their date, and they're willing to work with our budget." Jerome looked up from his laptop, where he had been coordinating with the catering team. "Perfect timing. The caterer just agreed to do a tasting next week so the Pattersons can approve the menu." Working with Amara felt natural in a way that surprised him. She handled the creative aspects while he managed logistics and vendor relations, but their skills overlapped enough that they could cover for each other when needed. More importantly, they seemed to anticipate each other's thoughts and responses. "I have news," Amara said, settling into the chair across from his makeshift desk. "Linda Patterson called this morning. She gave our information to 3 of her friends. We have consultations scheduled for next week." Jerome felt a surge of excitement. 3 more clients? Potentially. 1 engagement party, 1 corporate event, and 1 golden wedding anniversary. Amara's eyes sparkled. "Jerome, if we land even 2 of these, we'll be booked solid through the holidays." "That's incredible." Jerome closed his laptop and gave Amara his full attention. "How are you feeling about all of this?" "Terrified and thrilled in equal measure," she admitted. "I've never had this much potential business at once. What if we can't handle it all? What if we disappoint someone? Jerome reached across the small space between their chairs and took her hand. We won't disappoint anyone because we won't let each other fail. That's what partnerships are for. Amara's fingers intertwined with his, and Jerome felt that familiar flutter of awareness that had been growing stronger each day they worked together. They were supposed to be business partners, but the lines between professional and personal were becoming increasingly blurred. Speaking of partnerships, Amara said softly, how are we going to handle the personal side of what we're doing? These clients see us as a couple. Linda Patterson keeps asking when we're getting married ourselves. Jerome's heart rate picked up. What do you want to tell them? I don't know. The truth feels complicated. Before Jerome could respond, Amara's phone rang. She glanced at the caller ID and smiled. It's Linda Patterson. Probably more questions about the flower arrangements. But when Amara answered, her expression changed from pleasant to concerned. Oh no, Linda. Are you sure? Yes, of course we understand. No, don't worry about that now. After she hung up, Amara looked stricken. What happened? Jerome asked. Robert had a minor heart attack this morning. He's stable, but they're postponing the anniversary party indefinitely. Jerome felt his stomach drop. Their biggest contract gone. Are they canceling completely? They don't know yet. Linda said they'll call us when things settle down. Amara sank back in her chair, looking deflated. Jerome, what if the other consultations fall through too? What if this was our only shot? Hey. Jerome moved his chair closer to hers. Robert is going to be fine, and when he's recovered, they'll still want their anniversary party. And even if they don't, we have 3 more potential clients next week. This isn't over. But the money from this contract was going to carry us through the next few months. Without it, we figure out another way. Jerome's voice was steady and reassuring. Amara, you built this business from nothing once before. You can do it again. And this time you're not alone. Amara looked at him with something that might have been gratitude or something deeper. How are you so calm about this? Because 6 months ago I thought my life was over when Nicole left. Then 3 weeks ago I thought it was over again when I lost my job. But both of those things led me here, to this partnership with you. Maybe Robert's heart attack is just life's way of making sure we're ready for whatever comes next. You really believe that? I'm starting to. Jerome stood and pulled her to her feet. Come on. Let's send the Pattersons some flowers and a card, and then we'll prep for next week's meetings. We're going to land all 3 of those clients. Amara smiled for the first time since the phone call. All 3. All 3. And then we're going to celebrate with the most expensive dinner we can afford. You're very confident for someone whose biggest event planning experience was helping his mother organize family reunions. That's because I have an amazing partner who knows what she's doing. Jerome's voice was warm with affection. And because I've seen you work. These clients are going to love you, Amara. Love us. The word us seemed to hang in the air between them, carrying more weight than a simple business partnership. Jerome, Amara said quietly, what are we doing here? Really? I think we're building something, he replied honestly. Maybe a business, maybe something more, maybe both. And that doesn't scare you? Everything about this scares me. But it's the good kind of scared. The kind that means you're about to do something important. Amara stepped closer, and Jerome could smell her perfume, something light and floral that reminded him of the garden where they had first met. I haven't felt this hopeful about anything in a long time. Neither have I. They stood there for a moment, close enough to kiss, both of them aware of the shift happening between them. But Amara's phone rang again, breaking the spell. Vendor call, she said, stepping back reluctantly. Rain check on this conversation? Count on it, Jerome said. As Amara took her call, Jerome looked around the office they had been sharing for 2 weeks. Her design sketches covered one wall, his marketing plans spread across another. Her coffee cup sat next to his water bottle on the windowsill. Somehow, without either of them planning it, they had created a space that belonged to both of them. Whatever was happening between them, Jerome realized, it was bigger than business and more important than any single contract. They were building something together, something that felt solid and real and full of promise. And for the first time since Nicole had left, Jerome wasn't afraid of what the future might hold. The following week brought a whirlwind of client meetings, and true to Jerome's prediction, they landed all 3 potential contracts. The engagement party was scheduled for the following month, the corporate event for 6 weeks out, and the golden anniversary for early December. Suddenly they had more work than Amara had ever handled alone. We need systems, Jerome said, spreading project management charts across Amara's dining table, which had become their unofficial conference room. Timeline tracking, vendor databases, client communication protocols. If we're going to handle multiple events simultaneously, we can't afford to drop any balls. Amara looked up from her laptop, where she was sketching preliminary designs for the engagement party. You know, for someone who claims he's new to event planning, you're remarkably good at this. Years of marketing project management, Jerome replied, but he felt a warm glow at her praise. The principles are the same, just different deliverables. They had been working together for 3 weeks now, and their rhythm was becoming natural. Jerome handled logistics, vendor coordination, and client communication while Amara focused on design, creativity, and the artistic elements that made each event special. But increasingly, their roles overlapped and complemented each other in ways that felt effortless. I have good news and challenging news, Amara said during their afternoon coffee break. Which do you want first? Good news always. Linda Patterson called. Robert is doing much better, and they want to reschedule their anniversary party for January. So we haven't lost that contract after all. Jerome felt a surge of relief and excitement. That's wonderful. What's the challenging news? That means we'll have 4 major events between now and January, plus whatever new business we generate. I'm not sure how we'll manage it all. Jerome considered this. We hire help. Temporary staff for event days, maybe a part-time assistant for administrative work. The profit margins on these contracts can support it. You've thought about this already? I've been hoping we'd get busy enough to need help. Jerome smiled. It's a good problem to have, Amara. 3 months ago you were struggling to book 1 event. Now we're worried about managing too many. Amara leaned back in her chair looking thoughtful. You know what's strange? I don't feel overwhelmed. Busy, yes. Excited, definitely. But not overwhelmed. Because you're not doing it alone anymore. Is that what it is? She studied his face. Or is it something else? Before Jerome could answer, his phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID and felt his stomach tighten. Nicole. You can take it, Amara said gently, recognizing his hesitation. Jerome let it go to voicemail, but the interruption had broken their moment. Sorry? Where were we? Jerome, if you need to call her back. I don't. Whatever Nicole wants, it's not more important than this. He gestured between them, encompassing both their work and whatever was growing between them personally. But Jerome's phone rang again immediately. This time it was his mother. I should probably take this one, he said apologetically. Jerome, honey? His mother's voice was tight with concern. Nicole just called me. She said she's been trying to reach you. Mom, whatever this is about, I don't want to hear it. She said it's important. Something about needing to talk to you about your apartment lease. Jerome frowned. Nicole had moved out 6 months ago. Their lease had been entirely in his name. There's nothing for us to discuss about the apartment. She seemed quite upset. Maybe you should just call her back, get whatever this is resolved. After hanging up, Jerome found Amara watching him with concern. Everything okay? Nicole drama. I'll handle it later. Jerome tried to refocus on their work, but his concentration was shot. Go, Amara said firmly. Call her back, find out what she wants, deal with it. Then come back here with a clear head. Are you sure? I'm sure. Whatever this is, it's distracting you. And we both know you need to face it eventually. Jerome stepped out onto Amara's balcony to make the call. Nicole answered on the first ring. Jerome, thank God. I've been trying to reach you for days. What do you want, Nicole? I need to see you. In person. It's about Tom. Tom is your husband now. Whatever problems you're having. We're getting divorced. Nicole's voice cracked. Jerome, I made a terrible mistake. Jerome felt the world tilt slightly. I can't do this with you. Please. Just coffee. One conversation. I need to explain. Explain what? How you left me for my groomsman. How you married him 6 months later. There's nothing to explain, Nicole. There's everything to explain. Her voice was pleading now. I was confused, scared of commitment. Tom seemed safe because I knew it wouldn't last. But with you it was real. That terrified me. Jerome looked through the sliding door at Amara, who was pretending to focus on her work but clearly worried about him. Nicole, I'm seeing someone. The woman from the wedding? Jerome, you barely know her. What we had was years of history, shared dreams. Shared dreams that you walked away from. Because I was an idiot. Because I got scared and made the worst decision of my life. Nicole was crying now. Please, Jerome. Just coffee. Let me try to make this right. Jerome closed his eyes, feeling torn between his past and his present. 6 months ago this call was all he had wanted. Nicole admitting she was wrong, asking for another chance. But now, with Amara's laughter echoing in his memory and their partnership flourishing around them, Nicole's words felt like they belonged to someone else's life. "I can't," he said finally. "I'm sorry your marriage didn't work out, but I can't be part of fixing it. Don't throw away what we had for some rebound relationship. What we had ended when you chose Tom." Jerome's voice was steady now, certain. "I'm not throwing anything away. I'm choosing to move forward." After he hung up, Jerome sat on the balcony for several minutes, processing the conversation. When he came back inside, Amara looked up expectantly. "She wants to get back together," Jerome said simply. "Her marriage is ending. And what do you want?" Jerome looked at Amara, taking in her concerned expression, the creative chaos of their shared workspace, the evidence of the partnership they were building together. "I want to finish planning this engagement party," he said. "I want to make sure our clients have the most beautiful events of their lives. And I want to keep building whatever this is between us." Amara's smile was radiant. "Those are excellent wants. I think so too." As they returned to work, Jerome realized that Nicole's call hadn't disrupted his peace the way he had expected. Instead, it had clarified something important. His future wasn't about recovering from his past. It was about creating something entirely new, something better, with someone who saw his potential and made him want to be the best version of himself. And that someone was sitting across from him, sketching flowers and humming softly, completely unaware that she had just helped him choose his future without saying a word. 8 weeks later, Jerome stood in the bridal suite of Riverside Gardens, adjusting his tie and mentally reviewing the timeline for the Patterson anniversary celebration. After months of planning, postponing and replanning, the day had finally arrived. "Boutonniere delivery is complete," Amara's voice came through his earpiece. "Catering team is set up, band is doing sound check, and Linda Patterson looks radiant." Jerome smiled, listening to the calm efficiency in Amara's voice. Over the past 2 months, they had coordinated 4 successful events together, each one running more smoothly than the last. They had developed an intuitive working relationship, anticipating each other's needs and covering for each other seamlessly. "Photography team just arrived," Jerome reported back. "They're setting up for the first look in the garden pavilion. Today's event was their biggest yet. 120 guests, a full dinner reception, live band, and enough flowers to supply a small wedding shop." The Pattersons had spared no expense for their renewed vows and 25th anniversary celebration. Jerome made his way through the venue, checking on details. The tables looked perfect, with Amara's elegant centerpieces and soft lighting creating an intimate atmosphere despite the large guest count. The ceremony space was decorated with white and cream flowers, simple but sophisticated. "Jerome." Linda Patterson appeared at his elbow, looking elegant in a champagne-colored dress. "Everything looks absolutely perfect. I can't believe you two pulled this together so beautifully." "It's all Amara's vision," Jerome said. "I just make sure the logistics run smoothly. Don't sell yourself short. Robert and I have been to plenty of events where the coordination was a disaster, no matter how pretty the decorations." Linda's eyes were bright with excitement. "You two make an incredible team." As the afternoon progressed, Jerome found himself thinking about Linda's words. He and Amara had become an incredible team, both professionally and personally. They spent most of their waking hours together, sharing meals, inside jokes, and the small intimacies that came with close partnership. But they had never defined what was happening between them romantically. They held hands during client meetings, shared lingering glances across crowded events, and fell into comfortable domestic routines when working late. Yet neither of them had acknowledged the elephant in the room, the growing attraction that simmered beneath their professional collaboration. Ceremony starting in 10 minutes, Amara's voice came through his earpiece again. "All guests are seated, officiant is ready, and Robert looks like he might cry happy tears." Jerome positioned himself at the back of the ceremony space, watching as Linda and Robert renewed their vows with the same joy and commitment they had shown 25 years earlier. The officiant spoke about enduring love, about partnerships that grow stronger through challenges, about choosing each other every day. "What Robert and Linda have built together," the officiant said, "is proof that true partnership is about more than romance. It's about friendship, respect, shared dreams, and the commitment to support each other through everything life brings." Jerome found himself looking across the crowd to where Amara stood, making sure the photographer captured every important moment. As if sensing his gaze, she looked up and smiled at him, that warm, genuine smile that made his chest tighten with affection. Was what they had building toward something like Robert and Linda's marriage? The thought both excited and terrified him. The ceremony concluded with enthusiastic applause, and guests moved to the cocktail reception while the staff reset the ceremony space for dinner. Jerome and Amara worked in perfect synchronization, directing vendors and managing the timeline without missing a beat. "Dance floor ready?" Jerome asked as the band finished their setup. "Ready and waiting," Amara confirmed. "I think we're actually ahead of schedule. First time for everything." During dinner, Jerome and Amara took turns monitoring different areas of the reception, but they reconvened at the back of the room during Robert's speech. 25 years ago, Robert said, his voice carrying clearly across the room, "I married the most beautiful woman I had ever met. I thought I loved her as much as it was possible to love someone. I was wrong." The room fell quiet, guests leaning forward to hear his words. "I loved her as much as a 25-year-old man could love. But love grows, deepens, becomes something richer and more complex with time. The woman standing beside me now is still the most beautiful woman I've ever met, but she's also my best friend, my business partner, my greatest supporter, and my favorite person in the world." Jerome felt Amara's hand slip into his, her fingers warm and sure. "Marriage isn't just about finding someone you can live with," Robert continued. "It's about finding someone you can't imagine living without. Someone who makes every day better just by being in it." Linda wiped tears from her eyes as Robert raised his glass. "To 25 more years of choosing each other, every single day." The room erupted in applause and cheers. Jerome and Amara worked quickly to coordinate the transition to dancing, but Robert's words echoed in Jerome's mind. "Someone you can't imagine living without. Someone who makes every day better just by being in it." As the evening wound down and the last guests departed, Jerome and Amara supervised the cleanup process with their usual efficiency. But there was something different in the air between them, a tension that had been building for months finally demanding attention. "Another successful event," Amara said as they loaded the last of their supplies into her car. "The most successful yet," Jerome agreed. The Pattersons looked so happy. They drove back to Amara's house in comfortable silence, both lost in their own thoughts. Jerome kept replaying Robert's speech, wondering if he had the courage to say what was really in his heart. As they unloaded the car and settled into Amara's living room with glasses of wine, the weight of everything unsaid seemed to press down on them. "Jerome," Amara said finally, "what are we doing?" "What do you mean?" "This. We hold hands during client meetings, we work together 18 hours a day, we know each other's coffee orders and favorite foods and biggest fears." Her voice was soft but direct. "But we've never talked about what any of it means." Jerome set down his wine glass, his heart racing. This was the conversation he had been both hoping for and dreading for months. "What do you want it to mean?" he asked. "I want it to mean everything," Amara said quietly. "I want it to mean that what we have is real, not just pretend for clients. I want it to mean that I'm falling in love with my business partner and I don't know what to do about it." Jerome felt something settle into place in his chest, like a puzzle piece finding its proper spot. "I want it to mean that too," he said. "I want it to mean that somewhere between Nicole's wedding and tonight, I stopped pretending to care about you and started actually caring about you more than I've ever cared about anyone." Amara's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "Really? Really? Amara, you've given me back my life. My confidence, my sense of purpose, my belief that good things are possible. I can't imagine doing any of this without you. Even the business side? Especially the business side. We're perfect partners, Amara. In every way." She stood up and moved to the couch beside him. "So what happens now?" Jerome took her hands in his, marveling at how right it felt. "Now we stop pretending that what we have is just business. Now we see what happens when we're honest about wanting to build a life together, not just a company. That's a big step. The biggest. But I'm ready for it if you are." Amara leaned closer, and Jerome could see the reflection of his own hope and nervousness in her eyes. "I'm ready," she whispered. When Jerome kissed her, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. Like something they had been building toward from the moment she sat down beside him at Nicole's wedding. Like coming home. The morning after their first real kiss, Jerome woke up in Amara's guest room with a sense of possibility he hadn't felt in years. They had stayed up late talking about their feelings, their partnership, and what it might mean to blend their personal and professional relationships. But in the clear light of morning, Jerome felt nervous about how to navigate this new dynamic. He found Amara in the kitchen, already dressed and reviewing their calendar for the week. She looked up when he entered, and for a moment, they both seemed uncertain about how to greet each other. "Good morning," Jerome said, settling for a gentle kiss on her cheek. Good morning. Amara's smile was soft but slightly hesitant. Coffee? Please. They moved around each other carefully, both hyper-aware of the shift between them. Jerome found himself wondering if they had made a mistake, if mixing business with romance would complicate everything they had built together. We have the Hendricks consultation this morning, Amara said, consulting her planner. The golden anniversary party. Then lunch with the vendor team for the Morrison engagement party. Right. Jerome tried to focus on business, but he kept thinking about the way Amara had felt in his arms the night before. Should we talk about how to handle the personal aspect of our relationship with clients? They already think we're together, but now we actually are. Amara looked up from her planner. Jerome, are you having second thoughts? No. His response was immediate and certain. But I want to make sure we're doing this right. Our business is thriving and I don't want to mess that up. Neither do I. Amara moved closer to him. Maybe we take it slowly? See how it feels to be honest with each other while maintaining our professional standards. Jerome nodded, relief flooding through him. That sounds perfect. Their first test came 2 hours later, sitting across from Harold and Margaret Hendricks in their elegant townhouse. The couple had been married for 50 years and wanted to celebrate with their children and grandchildren. We've heard wonderful things about your partnership, Margaret said, her eyes twinkling as she looked between Jerome and Amara. The Pattersons couldn't stop raving about how beautifully you work together. Thank you, Amara said graciously. We complement each other well. That's clear, Harold observed. How long have you two been together? Jerome felt his heart skip, but Amara answered smoothly. We've been working together for several months now. The partnership has been life-changing. It was the truth, just not the whole truth. Margaret seemed satisfied with the answer, and they moved on to discussing the party details. As the meeting progressed, Jerome realized that being genuinely in love with Amara actually made their professional dynamic even stronger. The affection between them was real now, not performed, and it showed in small gestures. The way Amara automatically handed him her pen when he needed to take notes, how he adjusted the window blinds without being asked when the sun was bothering her eyes. You two have something special, Margaret said as they prepared to leave. My Harold and I recognize it because we have it ourselves. Treasure it. In the car afterward, Jerome and Amara sat quietly for a moment. That went well, Jerome said finally. Better than well. They loved our ideas and they loved us. Amara started the engine. Being honest about our feelings doesn't seem to be hurting our business. If anything, it's helping. Over the following weeks, Jerome and Amara settled into a routine that blended romance and partnership seamlessly. They worked long days coordinating events and meeting with clients, then spent evenings cooking dinner together and talking about everything from childhood memories to future dreams. Jerome found himself marveling at how easy it was to be with Amara. She was funny and intelligent, supportive of his ideas while challenging him to be better. She remembered that he didn't like mushrooms and bought the coffee he preferred. She listened when he worried about money or doubted his abilities, offering perspective without trying to fix everything for him. I have something to tell you, Jerome said one evening as they cleaned up after dinner. I've been thinking about expanding our business model. Oh. Amara looked intrigued. What if we offered wedding planning consultation for couples who want to plan their own events but need professional guidance? Lower cost than full-service planning, but more than just venue rental. Amara considered this. Like coaching. Exactly. We could offer packages. 1 consultation for basic timeline and budget guidance, 3 sessions for comprehensive planning support, or ongoing monthly check-ins for couples planning far in advance. Jerome, that's brilliant. Amara's face lit up with excitement. It would make our services accessible to couples who can't afford full event planning but still want professional support. And it would provide steady income between big events. Amara moved closer to him, her eyes bright with possibilities. We could start with a pilot program, maybe offer it to a few couples and see how it goes. I already have 3 couples in mind from our consultation waitlist. You've really thought this through. Amara's voice was warm with admiration. I love what we're building together, Amara. Both the business and the relationship. I want to see how big we can make it. She kissed him then, soft and sweet, and Jerome felt that familiar sense of rightness settle over him. I love you, he said, the words slipping out before he could stop them. Amara went still in his arms. What did you say? Jerome's heart hammered as he realized what he had just confessed. They had been dating for only a few weeks, and despite their months of partnership, telling someone you loved them was a big step. I said I love you. Jerome's voice was steady despite his nerves. I know it might be too soon to say it, but it's true. I love working with you, I love spending time with you, and I love who I am when I'm with you. Amara's eyes filled with tears. Jerome. You don't have to say it back, he said quickly. I just wanted you to know. I love you too, she whispered. I've been wanting to say it for weeks. Jerome felt something tight in his chest release. Really? Really? I love your enthusiasm for our work, your kindness with our clients, the way you make me laugh during stressful events. Amara cupped his face in her hands. I love that you see possibilities everywhere and make me believe in them too. When Jerome kissed her this time, it felt like a promise. A commitment to build something lasting together, both personally and professionally. But even as happiness flooded through him, a small voice in the back of his mind wondered if it was possible to have everything he wanted. Could their romantic relationship survive the pressure of working together every day? Could their business thrive if their personal relationship faced challenges? For now, though, holding Amara in his arms and knowing she loved him back, Jerome chose to focus on possibility rather than worry. They had overcome every challenge so far by supporting each other and communicating honestly. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Are you rooting for Jerome and Amara's love story? Sometimes the most beautiful relationships grow from unexpected beginnings and shared dreams. Don't forget to subscribe for more heartwarming stories and let us know in the comments. Do you believe in mixing business with love? 3 months into their romantic relationship, Jerome and Amara had settled into a comfortable rhythm of love and partnership. Their business was thriving, with bookings extending into the following year, and their personal relationship felt solid and supportive. Jerome had even started keeping clothes at Amara's house, and they had begun talking casually about finding a larger office space they could share. That morning started like any other, with coffee and calendar review at Amara's kitchen table. But when Jerome checked his email, he found a message that made his stomach tighten with anxiety. Everything okay? Amara asked, noticing his expression. Probably nothing, Jerome said, though his voice sounded uncertain even to himself. Someone from Prestige Corporate Events wants to meet with me this afternoon. They saw our work at the Patterson anniversary and want to discuss opportunities. Amara looked up from her planner. That's good, right? Word-of-mouth referrals are the best kind of business. Maybe. Or maybe they're trying to poach one of our vendors. Jerome closed his laptop. I'll meet with them and find out what they want. Do you want me to come with you? No need. I can handle one consultation meeting. Jerome kissed her forehead. Besides, you have the Morrison venue walkthrough this afternoon. I'll meet you back here for dinner and tell you everything. Prestige Corporate Events had offices in the most expensive part of downtown, with floor-to-ceiling windows and modern furniture that screamed success. Jerome felt slightly underdressed in his business casual attire as he was led to a conference room with a view of the city skyline. Jerome Williams, said a woman in an immaculate suit as she entered the room. I'm Patricia Chin, founder and CEO of Prestige. Thank you for meeting with me. Thank you for the invitation, Miss Chin. Though I'm not entirely sure why I'm here. Patricia smiled as she settled across from him at the polished conference table. Straight to the point. I like that. Jerome, I've been watching your work with interest. The Patterson anniversary, the Morrison engagement party, the Henderson corporate event. You have a natural talent for logistics and client management. Jerome felt wary. Thank you, but I should mention that I work in partnership with Amara Jackson. Those events were team efforts. Of course. Ms. Jackson is clearly talented as well. But I'm interested in talking to you specifically about your career trajectory. Patricia opened a leather portfolio and slid a document across the table. Prestige Corporate Events is expanding our wedding and private event division. We handle some of the most exclusive celebrations in the city, with budgets that start at 6 figures and go up from there. Jerome glanced at the document, which appeared to be a job description. I'm not looking for employment, Miss Chin. I have my own business. Which is why I'm not offering you employment. I'm offering you partnership. Patricia leaned forward, her expression intense. Senior partner in our private events division. Your own team, unlimited resources, and compensation that would triple what you're making now. Jerome felt his mouth go dry. The salary figure at the bottom of the page was more money than he had ever dreamed of making. You would have creative control over all private events, Patricia continued. Wedding planning, anniversary celebrations, milestone birthdays, corporate retreats. Everything you're doing now, but with the backing of an established company and access to vendors and venues that are currently out of your reach. And Amara? Patricia's expression didn't change, but Jerome caught a slight hesitation. Ms. Jackson is welcome to apply for a position on your team, of course. Though I should mention that we typically require our senior partners to maintain some independence from personal relationships in their professional decision-making. The meaning was clear. They wanted Jerome, but they saw Amara as a complication rather than an asset. I appreciate the offer, Jerome said carefully, but I'm not interested in leaving my current partnership. I understand loyalty, Jerome. But I also understand ambition. This is an opportunity to take your career to a level that would be impossible in a small, independent operation. Patricia's smile was perfectly professional. Why don't you take the weekend to think about it? We're prepared to be very generous to the right candidate. Jerome left the meeting with the job offer burning a hole in his laptop bag. The money was tempting, certainly more than he and Amara were likely to make in the next 5 years. But the idea of leaving Amara, of treating their partnership as something he could walk away from for a better offer, felt fundamentally wrong. He drove to the Morrison venue to meet Amara, planning to tell her about the meeting immediately. But when he arrived, he found her in the parking lot, talking on the phone with an expression he had never seen before. "Yes, I understand," she was saying. "Thank you for letting me know." When she hung up, her face was pale. "What's wrong?" Jerome asked. "That was Linda Patterson. She heard from someone at the country club that you had a meeting with Prestige Corporate Events today." Amara's voice was steady, but Jerome could hear the hurt underneath it. "She wanted to make sure we weren't ending our business relationship because she has friends who were planning to hire us." Jerome felt his stomach drop. "Amara, I can explain." "Can you?" "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you had a job interview and didn't think it was worth mentioning to your business partner." Her eyes were bright with unshed tears. "Were you planning to tell me, or were you going to wait until you had already decided to leave?" "I'm not leaving. I turned down their offer." "You turned down an offer I didn't even know you had received." Amara's voice was rising now. "Jerome, we're supposed to be partners. In business and in life. How could you not tell me about something this big?" "Because I knew you'd be hurt, and I knew it didn't matter because I wasn't interested." "It doesn't matter? A major competitor trying to poach one half of our partnership doesn't matter?" Jerome realized how badly he had handled the situation. "I was going to tell you tonight over dinner. I wanted to have the full conversation, not just drop it on you between meetings." "The full conversation about how you're leaving me?" "The full conversation about how I turned them down without hesitation because what we have is more important than money." Amara stared at him for a long moment. "Is it?" "Because from my perspective, it looks like you went behind my back to explore other options." "That's not what happened." "Then what did happen, Jerome?" "Because I'm standing here feeling like I don't know my own partner, wondering what else you're not telling me." Jerome felt frustration rising to match her hurt. "I'm not allowed to take a meeting? I'm not allowed to hear what someone has to offer before turning it down. You're allowed to do anything you want. But I thought we were building something together. I thought we trusted each other enough to be honest about major decisions. We are building something together. That's exactly why I said no to Prestige." "But you considered it first." Amara's voice was quiet now, which somehow felt worse than when she was angry. "You sat in that meeting and considered leaving everything we've built for a bigger paycheck. For 30 seconds maybe. Until they made it clear they saw you as disposable. They offered you a position but not me?" Jerome nodded, realizing how much worse that made everything sound. Amara closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. "I need some time to think about this." "Amara, please. Don't let a misunderstanding ruin what we have." "Is it a misunderstanding? Or is it a glimpse of what happens when things get difficult? When someone offers you something better, do you explore it before remembering that you have a partner?" Jerome felt panic rising in his chest. "That's not fair. You're twisting this into something it isn't." "I'm trying to understand what it is." Amara's voice was steady but distant. "I'm trying to figure out if I can trust you to choose us when it matters." "You can." "I did choose us. After you chose to explore other options first." They stood in the parking lot, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows between them. Jerome realized that no matter what he said, Amara was going to need time to process what had happened. And maybe she was right to be hurt. Maybe he should have told her about the meeting immediately, should have invited her to come with him, should have handled the entire situation differently. "What do you want from me?" Jerome asked finally. "I want you to understand why I'm hurt. And I want some space to figure out what this means for our partnership." "Both partnerships?" Amara's hesitation told him everything he needed to know. "I don't know yet." Jerome watched her drive away, feeling like he had just lost something precious through sheer stupidity. He had been so focused on proving his loyalty by turning down the job offer that he hadn't considered how the secrecy itself would feel like a betrayal. As he sat alone in the venue parking lot, Jerome realized that love and business were more complicated than he had thought. Even when your intentions were good, even when your commitment was real, the way you handled difficult situations could damage everything you were trying to protect. Now he had to figure out how to prove to Amara that she could trust him, that their partnership meant more to him than any outside offer ever could. And he had to do it while giving her the space she had asked for. It was going to be the longest weekend of his life. Jerome spent the weekend in a state of anxious misery, replaying his conversation with Amara over and over, trying to figure out how to fix what he had broken. He wrote dozens of texts he didn't send, started phone calls he didn't complete, and drove past Amara's house 3 times without stopping. On Monday morning he received a brief, professional email from her. "I need a few more days to think. Can you handle the Henderson venue meeting solo?" The formal tone cut deeper than anger would have. Jerome spent the week managing their shared clients while giving Amara the space she had requested, but every day felt like walking on broken glass. On Wednesday, inspiration struck during a sleepless night. If Jerome wanted to prove his commitment to their partnership, he would have to do something bigger than words. Something that showed Amara exactly how much she meant to him and how much he believed in what they were building together. He spent Thursday making secret phone calls and cashing in every vendor favor they had earned over the past year. By Friday morning he had a plan that was either brilliant or completely insane. Jerome texted Amara, "Can you meet me at your parents' house Saturday at 2 p.m.? It's important." Her response was cautious. "Why my parents' house?" "Trust me. Please. Just this once, trust me." Saturday afternoon, Jerome arrived at the Jackson family home 30 minutes early, his stomach churning with nerves. Amara's parents, Robert and Grace Jackson, had welcomed him warmly since he and Amara had started dating, but he had never attempted anything like this before. "Jerome, honey," Grace said, opening the front door with a huge smile. "Everything looks perfect. Amara is going to be so surprised." The backyard had been transformed overnight. White fabric draped between the trees, creating an intimate ceremony space. Small tables scattered throughout the garden, each one set with simple white linens and small flower arrangements. String lights overhead, ready to glow as the sun set. 30 years of marriage deserves a proper celebration, Jerome said, adjusting a ribbon on the makeshift altar. "Even if it's a year late." Grace's eyes filled with tears. "You planned all of this just to show Amara how much you love her?" "I planned it to show her how much I love both of us together. And to celebrate the kind of marriage I hope we can have someday." At exactly 2 p.m., Jerome heard Amara's car in the driveway. His heart hammered as he took his position beside Robert Jackson, who was wearing his best suit and a nervous smile. "Dad." Amara's voice carried from the front yard. "Mom? What's going on?" She appeared in the backyard archway and stopped dead, taking in the decorations, the small crowd of family members and close friends, and Jerome standing beside her father in a black suit. "What is this?" she whispered. "Your parents never had a proper wedding reception," Jerome said, his voice carrying across the garden. 31 years ago, they got married in a courthouse with 2 witnesses and no celebration. I thought it was time to fix that." Grace stepped forward, radiant in a cream-colored dress Jerome had helped her choose. "Surprise, baby. Jerome organized a vow renewal for me and your father." Amara's hands flew to her mouth, tears already streaming down her face. "Jerome. I realized something this week," he continued, stepping closer to her. "Love isn't about the big gestures or the perfect words. It's about showing up for the people you care about, consistently and without reservation. It's about celebrating the moments that matter and creating beautiful memories together." Robert Jackson stepped forward and took his wife's hands, speaking vows they had written together with Jerome's help. They promised to continue choosing each other, supporting each other's dreams, and building a life filled with love and laughter. As Jerome watched them kiss to seal their renewed commitment, he felt Amara slip her hand into his. "You did all of this?" she whispered. "I had help. Your cousins handled the setup, your mom chose the menu, and your dad wrote a speech that's going to make everyone cry." Jerome's voice was soft, meant only for her. "But yes, I did this to show you that this is what I want, Amara. Not just the romance but the partnership. The showing up for each other's families. The celebrating milestones together. The building something that lasts. Jerome, I'm so sorry about this week. I overreacted." "No, you didn't. You were right to be hurt. I should have told you about the job offer immediately. I should have asked you to come with me to the meeting." Jerome turned to face her fully. I should have remembered that we're a team in everything, not just the easy parts. Why didn't you take the job? Really? Because the moment they made it clear they saw you as expendable, I knew they didn't understand what makes our business successful. They saw my individual skills, but they missed the most important thing about what we do. Which is, we're better together than either of us is alone. Every event we've planned, every client we've won, every success we've had comes from the combination of our talents and the trust between us. Jerome's voice was steady and certain. I don't want to be successful without you, Amara. I want us to be successful together. Amara was crying again, but her smile was radiant. I love you so much. I love you too. And I have one more confession. Jerome dropped to one knee right there in her parents' backyard, with their families watching and string lights twinkling overhead. Amara Jackson, will you marry me? Will you be my business partner and life partner and the person I choose every single day for the rest of our lives? The ring was simple, a solitaire diamond on a platinum band, but it caught the light perfectly as Jerome held it up to her. Yes, Amara said through her tears. Yes, absolutely yes. As Jerome slipped the ring onto her finger and stood to kiss his fiancée, the small crowd erupted in cheers. Someone started the music, and within minutes, they were all dancing in the garden as the sun set behind the trees. How long have you been planning this? Amara asked as they swayed together to their first dance as an engaged couple. The proposal? Since about 10 minutes after I realized I loved you. The party and the ring and the timing? Since Wednesday, when I figured out that the best way to apologize for a misunderstanding was to create something beautiful together. You're never allowed to scare me like that again. Deal. But I'm also never going to stop surprising you. Good, Amara said, reaching up to kiss him again. I'm looking forward to a lifetime of your surprises. As they danced in the garden surrounded by their families, Jerome thought about Robert Jackson's speech from the Patterson anniversary. Finding someone you can't imagine living without. Someone who makes every day better just by being in it. He had found that person in the most unexpected way, starting with a moment of kindness at a wedding where they were both alone. Now they were building a life together, a business together, and a love story that felt like the best event they had ever planned. So, Amara said with a mischievous smile, when do we start planning our own wedding? Jerome laughed, spinning her in a circle as their families cheered around them. How about we start tomorrow? I know this great event planning team that specializes in love stories. I love our love story, Amara said. Me too. And the best part is we're just getting started. Under the string lights in the Jackson family garden, surrounded by the people they loved most, Jerome and Amara danced and planned and dreamed about all the beautiful moments they would create together in the years to come. Their fake relationship had become the most real thing in either of their lives, and their business partnership had grown into a love story that would last forever. Some of the best things in life, Jerome realized, began with someone being brave enough to offer kindness to a stranger. Everything wonderful that followed was just the natural result of two people choosing to build something beautiful together, one day and one event at a time.